uwager.lv, sportsbook, and casino. Sign up today at uwager.lv, the premier online sportsbook, taking wagers since 1998. The most player-friendly lines, weekly juice specials, and a true dime line in MLB. Unique casino platforms with thousands of games. Play poker, high stakes, low stakes, or tournament play. uwager.lv, what we offer. Free same-day payouts. Customer service and wagering support, 24/7, year-round. Free monthly rebates on your action and daily casino rebates. Contests, free bets, best bonuses, and giveaways. Generous referral program. Get an 80% free play bonus on your first deposit, up to $1,000. Sign up today, and use promo code SPORTSWEB. Remember, you can't win if you don't play.
it's all about winning, and that's the best part. No distractions, no other nonsense. It's just about how can we get on the same page towards winning, and that's how you build a great franchise. That's why it is one.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another edition of the evolution of Sports Talk Television here live on I Love St. Pete, the hub and Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. How do we start off this show? Because I got some things to get to. It's been an exciting day, a new business venture that I kind of want to talk about with you. How do we do this? You know what? You love it. You got to have it. Bring your passion. Bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. The big announcement today is this, and I've been kind of working on this for a while now. You know, I've been testing some things out when it comes to streaming. I always say this is the evolution of sports talk television, and I feel like streaming is the evolution. Nothing against radio or television, but I feel like it's limited. This is why I'm coming out with this tonight. PHB Studio Network, bring your broadcast to life. That's right. Not just sports talk shows, but also any show that you want to do, whether it's streaming, whether it's a recorded podcast. If you're in your house and you have a webcam, I can make it happen with my internet. All the prices are right there of this new business venture. Once again, phbstudionetwork.tv. Excited to work with you, whether it's sports, whether it's music. And the greatest thing about it is, unlike TV and radio, is you get a chance to control what you want to put out. You get a chance to control what guest you want on your show. You get a chance to control where you want to put your shows, what platform they want to be on, whether it be Facebook, whether it be YouTube, whether it be any platform that your little heart desires. PHB Studio Network is where you go. Bring your broadcast to life. Get in touch with me. Get in touch with my business associate, Kathy McGuire. If you don't have my number, you know the number, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. And let me just mention this. I've worked in radio before. I worked in television. I know what those prices are, and that's the reason why I'm coming out with this venture, because I think it's exciting. I think it gives everybody an opportunity to have a live TV show if you want that, to have the radio elements of phone calls and sound effects. This is the evolution of broadcasting. This is the evolution of sports talk television. Once again, I'm your host, Peter Blake. So without further ado, let's go ahead, get this man on. We're going to have Leo Haggerty on tonight. No Harry the Greek, the legend himself, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. At 9:30, we're going to have Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. Just to give you an update on the score right now, top of the ninth, your Tampa Bay Rays are beating the Toronto Blue Jays 7-3. So we'll see if they can close this out. This has been the story of this Tampa Bay Rays team. Can their bullpen get it done? Jason Adam not able to get it done there an inning ago. And then Kelly comes in, gets a big-time double play, and the Rays looks like they've been up to the task. And, in fact, it is over as we speak. Your Tampa Bay Rays beat the Toronto Blue Jays. So on that note, let's go ahead and get this man's intro on. Here we go. Former Coach Scott and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports, the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty. Welcome with that shot. Look at this right there. And see, here's the thing. You can have that type of shot right there if that's what you want for your broadcast, and I can make it work because I produced shows before in radio, and again, I've worked in television. With that being said, welcome to the evolution on a big night where I say PHP Studio Network.tv. What do you think of that, my friend?
Well, Peter, I like it. Let's get a couple people involved here and start streaming. Absolutely. And I come to you from the couch in Charleston, South Carolina tonight.
Well, see, and that's what I'm talking about. I mean, and you can be on your couch in Charleston, South Carolina, and that's the reason why I pay Spectrum so much money for this internet, so it looks great. You can take phone calls, you can have sound effects, and of course, you can have your people tune in to your show on your Facebook page. You can use my Facebook page if you want to, but you can use your Facebook page. You can use your YouTube page. With that being said, what do you think about this Tampa Bay Rays team? Last night, 20-1, embarrassing effort. You know, at the end of the day, they had no pitching. They were putting position players out there. You got guys throwing 50-mile-per-hour curveballs, struck out Vladimir Guerrero Jr., and then tonight they come out, get a home run from Luke Raley, 10 home runs for the year. Jose Siri's got 8, and they go on to beat the Blue Jays 7-3. Your thoughts?
Look who got the ball tonight, Peter.
Yep.
The stopper.
Yep.
Flanahan.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, that's why I'm so glad this isn't like soccer where you have cumulative scores, because Rays win the first one 6-4, lose the second one 20-1, win the third 7-3, Peter, or 7-4?
7-3. The last time I checked, it was 7-3. We'll update the score here. You know, it's tough to host a show and produce it and then watch the game at the same time. That's definitely an art to it. But at the end of the day, they finish up with the Blue Jays tomorrow. 110 starts.
21 games. 21 games over 500.
That's it. And, you know, Harry talked about this yesterday, and I want to get your thoughts about it. Wanted him on here tonight, but he's not feeling well. So we'll give him the night off. That's why he makes the big bucks at the end of the day. But Shane McClanahan, 8-0. And Harry brought this up yesterday. The Baltimore Orioles, how come people are not talking about them? Maybe because they lost to the Yankees last night, but they also have an equally impressive record. Talk about McClanahan first, because he's your stopper, 8-0. I think he's the starter of your American League All-Star game beyond a shadow of a doubt with what he's been able to do. And then the Orioles themselves.
Yeah, the only way he's not the starter is if he's got to start the day before or 2 days before. And again, Peter, we knew what these guys could do from the mound. We know what McClanahan can do. We know what Glasnow can do. And I'll tell you what, the fact that you got that guy running out there every 4th or 5th day, depending upon, you know, if you got a day off or not, man, he stops losing streaks in a hurry. And that's great. Baltimore, no one expected this, Peter. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And no one really expected this from the Rays either. And again, I posted the other day, I think they got 95 home runs in like 49 or 50 games. That's bizarre. And I put out, I said, what's juice, the ball or the players? I think it's the ball, because this thing, it's not just flying out of Tropicana Field. It's flying out everywhere.
Well, it's now 97 home runs, and Siri tonight, who replaced Kevin Kiermaier, and the big-time story was Kiermaier's return, and he's had a good year for the Blue Jays. But Jose Siri, I mean, who saw this coming? 8 home runs, had a big RBI there in the 8th to pad the lead for the Rays. This man is playing well right now. And then you have Luke Raley, who in turn made that shirt because those jokers up there in New York accused the Rays of cheating. So I just love this. I love the whole makeup of this team. What do you think about Rayleigh making a new T-shirt, and it certainly seems like this Rays team is extra motivated by those comments from those jokers in New York.
Oh yeah, what are you going to talk about in New York? The Yankees are, middle of the pack right
You're not
now.
talking about the Mets.
Yeah, exactly. And the Mets, you can't even bother with that.
Yeah.
So, they got to talk about something. And, let's blame the Rays for losing after they kick your butt. And that's what's happening. It's just these guys have got, I don't know what they're feeding them. I don't know what Kevin Cash is saying to them. But I'll tell you what, they are playing like championship caliber baseball right now. And again, every fourth or fifth game, not too good. But I'll tell you what, keep winning series. That'll keep you on top.
All right, so we're on with the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former coach, scout, and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Open phone lines. I want you guys to know this. Just because I have a guest on, unless you're an idiot, you can call the phone lines. You know who you are there, Troy. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through on that, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. I think the biggest thing that you're worried about with the Rays, who are now 36-15, like you said, 21 games over 500, is the bullpen. 2.95 ERA, 15th in Major League Baseball. They had a situation tonight where Jason Adam was not able to get out. They had to bring in Kelly. Kelly does the job of getting the double play. We talked to Roberto Hernandez, all-time closer for the Tampa Bay Rays last week. He feels like the Rays will get this together. Is this your biggest concern going forward, Leo, with the Rays and their bullpen?
Now, when you're scoring 7 and 8 runs, Peter, because then all you got to do is throw that fastball down the middle and say, stay in the park.
Yeah.
And again, that's it's totally a team effort. Look at what happens on those 1-0, those 2-1 games. There you get the pitching. And again, we haven't even seen Tyler Glasnow yet. Wait till he shows up. And that'll be just phenomenal if these guys can stay healthy. And again, closers go through times where, they can't get anybody out, but they also go through times where nobody can hit them. And again, Fairbanks is a perfect example. He's going to have one game every 6, 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 games where he's hittable. Those other 9, I'll take that, and twice on Sunday.
You're absolutely right. And this article is from CBSSports.com. They say that the Rays relievers have struck out 17.4 of their batters faced this season, the lowest bullpen strikeout rate in baseball, comfortably below the 23.8 league average for relievers. And they also say that the front office could pick up guys like Chase Anderson, Jake Diekman, Javi Guerrero. I mean, they've been picking up everybody that they can at the end of the day. And you're exactly right. It comes down to staying healthy, especially this starting pitching rotation. And it goes back to Glasnow, who has performed well in AAA. He's not able to stay healthy, but when he is healthy, how big is he, in your opinion, to this pitching staff?
He's 6'8", and I'll tell you what, Peter, that 6'8" on the mound looks like it's 10 feet tall.
Right.
Because by the time he lets the ball go, it's not 60 feet, 6 inches. It's about 55 feet. And it's coming. And, Peter, I don't know about that strikeout stat. I want to know, okay, what happens with the openers? Do they count the guy that comes in for 5 innings after that? Okay, I need to see something, maybe, 7th, 8th, and 9th inning. That's all I want to see. I don't want to see somebody comes in the 3rd inning, Beeks goes 2 innings, and then you turn it over to the committee. That's not relief pitching. Relief pitching is after the 6th inning, boom. And again, I'm going to go back to Whitey Herzog. Boy, did I pull that name out of the hat, right?
Well, you did, yes.
Whitey Herzog, manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. He used to bring in his reliever, his closer, when they had 1 out in the 7th inning. He wanted him to get 8 outs,
right?
Because he didn't want them to go through the lineup again. And guess what? Bruce Sutter did that. That's what I'm saying. These guys that come in now, throw 1 or 2 pitches. That's not the closers we saw in the past with Smith and Sutter and these guys that would go 2 2/3 innings, 2 1/3 innings. That's closing.
You're exactly right. And now the Rays are 30-5 when scoring 5 runs or more. They're actually 31-5. So you're exactly right. And we go back to the home run numbers. They are leading the LA Dodgers by a lot, 97. So they lead Major League Baseball. I'll tell you what, let's go out to the comments here, because not only can you call in, but also you can text in here. Troy says first. All right. Troy will give you that. Yeah. And then Coach Prime, read the comments, bro. Stop skipping my comments, bro.
This guy sucks.
Mike says Rays are leading 6-3. That's right. They've gone on to win now 7-3 over the Toronto, almost said Maple Leafs, Blue Jays there. Hurry this up. Dynamite is on, says Roger. Troy, he will read the comments when he's ready. It's his show. Pay him. He'll read them immediately. Exactly. If you want me to read your comments immediately, give to YouTube chats, and also Facebook stars are out there. I'm just saying, YouTube super chats open there, Troy. Evening, everyone. What's going on? Christopher. Yeah. Let's go out to Roger. Hey, Chris, welcome in. Christopher again. Does the kick rule include punts? If it does, then that's not right. What do you think of that new? And let's shift gears to the National Football League, as we're going to about to get into the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What do you think of that new rule there? I mean, basically, you just take the kickoff out of the game at this point, right?
Well, it's free kick. And again, the interesting thought of that is, if you fair catch a punt, you can kick. You can actually try a field goal. It's crazy.
Really?
It's crazy. And I can remember the last one I saw was Gale Sayers, but this is going way back.
Way back.
Gale Sayers came in to return a punt and dove for it on like the Green Bay 35, because that's the rule. Fair catch, you can fair catch a free kick. But again, if you're inside the 25, I don't think it's for punts. I think it's just for kickoffs.
Yeah, just for kickoffs at the end of the day. But, I mean, a guy like Devin Hester, who I've interviewed, I mean, he would be cringing right now. It's almost like, again, the National Football League, and I get it, they're trying to protect the players from concussions and everything like that, but you're taking an aspect out of the game and an advantage, to me, in my opinion. I mean, what do kick returners, what do special teams specialists, if you will, think about this? They got to cringe, right?
Oh, Peter. And the NFL is so two-faced on this. They're saying, we're interested in player safety. And now they're going to flex Thursday night games. Who are they kidding?
Right.
Where is Maurice Smith on this? Why is he not up at the top of his lungs screaming, no, we're not doing this. I don't care what you say. We're not doing this. The game scheduled on Thursday, that's bad enough. You're going to tell a team in week 16 that their week 18 game is going to be Thursday? No. This is wrong. So wrong, it's not even funny.
Well, and they also have the third quarterback, and we'll get into that in a moment, but I want to get out to the quarterback possibly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, talking about the Bucs and national media and how they feel about this team. Let's go out to Roger, grab a beer, and enjoy the show. Absolutely. Coach Prime says, all right.
This guy sucks.
Not reading that. Troy, now you can do your own show and read the comments. Roger says, where's the Greek? He's not here tonight. He's sick. Can't wait till football starts so we can stop this baseball talk. Look, Coach, if you don't want to talk about baseball, you can always go somewhere else. I mean, we talk baseball and football here on the sports web. Sorry to burst your bubble. Roger
Especially
says,
when you got a team that's 31-15. Where are you thinking there, Coach?
I mean, 36-15. I mean, it's an amazing start. We've always talked Rays on the show, probably more Bucs than anything else, but I feel like we should give the Rays their justice because they're one of the Tampa Bay sports teams in this town that people care about. And of course, I'm on I Love St. Pete, so I'm going to talk about the Tampa Bay Rays. All right, Roger says, if you don't like it, go somewhere else. Christopher Cole says Sugar Shane is 8-0. Absolutely, Christopher. Evening, guys. Raise up, raise up. Yeah. Let's go out to Coach Prime. Peter has said, when I'm not here, his shows are boring, wants to call it quits. Not true. Ralph, what's going on? Right there. Yeah. Roger says, Troy, one more dumb comment and you're gone. I'm not kidding. You've been warned. And Mike says, just got the college football book. Go Gators. I guess I'll give them that.
Yeah.
Not a Gator fan here, my friend, but of course, we always want the state of Florida to do well when it comes to college football, especially USF. What do you think about the deal yesterday? It looks like they finally got approval for their on-campus stadium. It should happen, right?
Oh yeah, it's got to happen. They got to get it on campus, and they got to start putting. It can be that erector set like they got down at the UCF. 35, 40,000. That's all you need. Just get them in. I'll tell you what, Peter. When USF played UCF, 4 or 5 years ago down there, and they both were. Peter, that's the loudest I've ever been to any stadium. Michigan, Tennessee, didn't matter. That was the loudest. And
well,
it was
we were there. We were there together because Travis Faley took me out there. It was so loud, and I believe who was the quarterback at the time?
Flowers.
It was Flowers. Yeah, it was Quentin Flowers. And that was a close game. And, of course, USF goes on to lose it. All right, speaking of college football quarterbacks, let's go out to Mr. Baker Mayfield and what he thinks of the expectations of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
Last year, and I'm pretty sure the Bucs won it still. So I don't really care what the people in Vegas are putting odds on it because it's May. We haven't played a real snap of football. There's a long way to go before that, and it's just the time of year where everybody's pretty bored and they don't really have much to talk about, and it makes it fun.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I mean, what do you think of his comments? I like those comments because first and foremost, he's basically telling the national media, who cares what you think? Shut the hell up. I'm about ready to be the starting quarterback. Sorry, Gator fans. I do think he's going to win out as the starting quarterback of the Bucs in 2023. But it's almost like putting a chip on their shoulder, much like what we talked about with the Rays. I like his attitude there. He says this team has won the division. I mean, how do you see it?
Peter, I when that came out that the Bucs over under was like 6.5, 6, 7, I'm going, what do they see that we don't?
Right.
Again, I'm looking at a team that with a healthy Baker Mayfield, that's the key part. Healthy Baker Mayfield. That's an 8-9, 9-8, 10-17. Because I don't know what they see is happening in Carolina, Atlanta, or New Orleans.
Right.
Because for them to say, 6.5 wins, they must think that a lot's coming out of Atlanta, a lot's coming out of New Orleans, a lot's coming out of Carolina. I don't see that. I'm more worried about New Orleans than anything else. Atlanta's going to be better because Bijan Robinson's going to make them better. And, Peter, what's the 3 things we preach to make a quarterback happy? A good running game, an offensive line, and a tight end that can get open over the middle. Atlanta's got all of them.
I know we're in May, but do you think the Bucs have done enough on this team to improve that running game with the subtraction of a Donovan Smith? Because I actually think they're going to be better. You talked about Tristan Wirfs and his background. He doesn't necessarily have the experience overall to play at that left side, but he definitely has the wrestling experience. Do you think they've done enough in the draft, in the offseason for this offensive line to improve this running game? And also, I just go back to this. I feel like, Leo, they're going to be as good as the 2022 Seahawks where they surprise everybody. And everybody was, saying the Seahawks are dead. No Russell Wilson. You're saying the same thing about the 2023 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. No Tom Brady. You got no shot. Tell me what you think about that whole scenario of the offensive line getting better. And then, of course, the Bucs maybe being able to replicate the Seattle Seahawks in 2022.
Peter, I'm going to do my best impression of Harry the Greek right now. Now, I don't have a little pussy to walk in front of me, which Harry would have. But, hey, memo to the Buccaneers. Run the damn football.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. I completely agree. I think Rashard White is one of those sneaky fantasy options where you're going to have to definitely take a look at him because the onus, once again, is going to be running the ball. It's going to be being balanced. And let's hear from Baker Mayfield and what he thinks about this offense. And maybe he does have an advantage here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Here we go.
Ian Waldron was in Los Angeles for a few years before he went to Seattle with Dave last year. So there's definitely carryover, similar system. And now when it comes to terminology and things like that, there's different adjustments and what they really want to get accomplished. So, yeah, I mean, I've been on enough offenses now there's a little bit of relation to a lot of them, but especially the most recent one. Yeah, you're right.
All right, welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Your thoughts on that? Because that's what I believe also, that he kind of already knows this offense, right? He ran with the Rams last year in those games, performed pretty well. He even talked about how he knows lots of offenses. I mean, how difficult is it going to be for him to get this type of offense from Dave Canales? Do you think he has an advantage in that room over a Kyle Trask? Or once again, is this going to be an open competition between both parties at the end of the day, and you favor Trask? Where are you going with this?
Oh, I think it's an open competition, and it's Baker Mayfield's to lose.
Okay.
That's what's open about it.
Okay.
Again, Peter, I always love when coaches come in and they got to say this. Oh, it's the job is open. It's a competition. You do not want the quarterback position to be a competition.
Right.
Do you, honest to God, think Tom Brady last year could have had the worst preseason and someone else is going to start? Not in a million years. And that's just what you got to deal with. That, again, Hurts can stink up the joint in Philadelphia in preseason. He's going to be under center when the guns are blaring week one. So, yeah, this is, and again, Canales, he resurrected Geno Smith. He did, Pete Carroll did the offense. Somebody did a job out there. And you know what? Not a bad job taking Canales and say, hey, maybe he was the guy, because all he's got to do is the same thing he did out in Seattle. And again, Walker was a rookie running back, and believe me, he went ballistic out there. That's what you want. You want that running game, so they're not just teeing off on the quarterback and they have to throw it 40, 45, 50 times a game.
And that's what I'm saying. There's a lot of similarities between both of these offenses, right? I mean, Rashard White, Ken Walker, Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, DK Metcalf, Lockett. You've got Evans and Godwin. And speaking of Godwin, he talked about his injury. We talked about this last year. He was good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, a guy that has over 100 receptions, 1,000 receiving yards is coming off an injury is pretty tremendous. But even you said he didn't have that same explosive nature. This is what he had to say at his presser the other day. Of course, OTAs going on as we speak. Not right now, but during the day. I think I'm very close to it. I feel like a lot of my explosion is coming back. I feel very comfortable with the things that I'm working on. It feels really good to be able to have the opportunity to work on my skill development this offseason as opposed to just working to rehab an injury. So what do you think his impact is on this offense this year? Is it a lot better? Because, again, you're talking about a player that was coming off an injury, still had 100 receptions, still had over 1,000 receiving yards, still was one of the main factors in this offense. And now he's talking about getting more explosive and getting back to his Chris Godwin self. What do you make of this?
And, Peter, we said this last year, that we didn't expect him to be even close to what he was until the end of October, beginning of November. And Peter, I don't want to think, I'm not Nostradamus on this.
Sure.
This is just what happens with that kind of injury, that it takes a while. It takes a long while to get back. And I'll tell you what, I'll bet that Chris Godwin was the happiest guy in the world when the season ended and he didn't do anything else to that knee, and now it can just get stronger.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now, speaking of, got you there. There we go. We got you on a pitch count. This is the last question, and then we'll get you out of here. Once again, appreciate your time, legend Leo Haggerty himself, former Coach Scout and media member of Night Sports Productions and Amped Up Sports. Baker talks about these receivers. He says, obviously, we got two great veterans. We got a ton of speed, a lot of young speed. I'm just trying to get these guys to find their roles and find their place in this system. We talk about the speed that we have. Our tight ends can roll as well. We're excited about what we can be with all the weapons that we have. So there was something revealed that Russell Gage is already injured. Concern about that because he was injured last year also.
No, not really. Peter, it's May. That's the big. It's May. Mm-hmm. So he's got, let's see, June, July, August, September to get healthy. So he's got 4 months.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a, ACL, MCL, something like that. Then you got a problem. But if he's got, a hamstring, if he's got a quad, if he's got a calf, sit him down. You're not opening up tomorrow. Get him healthy, because you know what? You don't win games in May, but you can lose them. I thought you'd like that one, Peter. That's a little bit prophetic.
I love that. I love that stuff. And Leo, I appreciate the time. Once again, thanks a lot for coming on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. All right.
Yeah, well, we're up here till June 10th, so I'll be looking for Best of the Bay, Ray coming on, and I'll tell you what, tell the Greek to stop eating that kibasa or any of that kvetchka. That's probably what's getting to him.
That's what's getting to him. I don't know. His second show this week that he's missed. I'm disappointed, but I understand it. I'm a good boss to work for. Thanks a lot, Leo Haggerty, the legend here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. All right.
All right, Peter. Maybe I can get the pitch count up a little more, but not right now.
I got you, man. I see it. I got you right there. I'm like Kevin Cash when it comes to taking out his pitchers in the bullpen. I could see that pitch count. So we're not going to strain Leo, but we're going to ask you if you want to call the phone lines. You should. 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, in case you can't get through, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about right on time, my friend. He is here. I'm going to go ahead and get his intro on. Here we go. All right, there we go. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy, welcome to the Evolution of Sports Talk Television, my friend. How you doing tonight after the Tampa Bay Rays take care of business over the Toronto Blue Jays? 7-3.
Yeah, and Sugar Shane McClanahan goes to 8-0. Pete, I think it was great today. By the way, thanks, brother, for that intro.
Absolutely.
from my walk up. I got a Facebook memory from 2 years ago today, 2021, but 2 years ago today, and I did a Facebook post, and it was that the Rays had just won their 11th game in a row, and again, I know we always go Tampa Bay, and of course, Bucs and 55, and then the Lightning 2 of 3, and then the Rays on the cusp, and the Dodgers coming to town next week, and what's being sold as a rematch of that, the 2020 World Series, of course, where the Rays drop it to the Dodgers because Blake Snell couldn't close the deal. I'm kidding.
Right. So while you're yeah. Well, you definitely know how to push somebody's buttons at that point. I mean, I know that you went live last night. I appreciate it. I fell asleep. I fell off a little bit. I just wanted to know if you heard about the big news today, and I got to put this back up here in case you guys missed it. PHB Studio Network, bring your broadcast to life, no matter if it's a sports talk show, a music show, whatever show you want it to be, within reason now. Let's not lose our minds here because Facebook and YouTube and those platforms are still involved. But definitely, get on that website if you're interested. The rates are there. I'll produce your show. You don't necessarily have to come here unless you want to. I also travel. I mean, what do you think about it? PHB Studio Network, bring your broadcast to life. Pretty cool, right?
Brother, not only is it cool, it's fantastic, and it takes me back to the days when I took the classes at Vision Cable at the time. Of course, it became Bright House, it became whatever, it became Spectrum, and it was for public access, and we did our programming, and we were able to make and create our own shows, and that's some of the best content, is content that we're creating for us and by us, from all of us, and not just you and me and Harry the Greek and Andrew and all. I mean, it's actually all the content people can provide, and so I like it as a resource for that, and also it's a conglomerate, so we bounce ideas. We can help each other get a little sharper. We can work with some of the producing in your point, but just the quality of it. So it's just so exciting to be a part of it. And of course, this is something that we've been working towards together, and you've been really working hard for just under 7 years now, since you and I have pretty much been doing this thing. I'm
telling you, has it been 7 years, my friend? Let's go out to the comments. We got some big hogs on both sides of the line, offense and defense. And I think, Christopher Cole is always on to something. I mean, he's a guy that definitely brings it here on the Sports Web. Great commentary, great text messages. As always, we've had him on here. I feel like that's a position, that's a unit that you need to watch, and I'm looking forward to. People will say the quarterback, people will say on the other side of the ball defensively, but I feel like that offensive line with all the competition there is going to be something to watch, especially come training camp and the preseason.
Yeah, and maybe that's the reason. Maybe you hit the nail on the head. And Christopher talking about the importance on up front on both sides is that, again, I'm just going to say, I'm going to put it out there. I'm still looking at Arthur Smith and the Falcons, and of course, and Frank Reich now and the Panthers and Bryce Young, and of course Dennis Allen and whatever they're doing there with Derek Carr. These are formidable foes. In the South, it's going to have a lot quicker of a turnaround than the NFC least did. But I still say with this defense, with these hosses up front, and I don't think the drafting or the addressing of the defensive line in the draft was necessarily because they felt like they were going from a position of weakness. Because I still think Logan Hall, I still think that Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, let's just at least say, let's agree to disagree that the jury's still out on that kid. A third year with an improving line and a healthy Shaq Barrett. But I think that you see in the players that, the defensive draft that Jason Light put the emphasis on. He's looking for down the road when, maybe, you don't have a Shaq Barrett or you start to, you're turning over the line. And I'm not saying you dismiss him or get rid of him, but you start to plug and play and continue to be able to put money in other areas. So I'm really excited about that, but definitely Christopher's right about the upfront, both sides.
All right, I got to play these comments again because I love the way Baker Mayfield, when he's asked this question about, the national attention, how negative national media has been towards the Bucs. Here's what he has to say. I love it. Pay attention.
Last year, and I'm pretty sure the Bucs won it still. So I don't really care what the people in Vegas are putting odds on it because it's May. We haven't played a real snap of football. There's a long way to go before that, and it's just the time of year where everybody's pretty bored and they don't really have much to talk about, and it makes it fun.
All right, so welcome back to the evolution of Sports Talk Television. I mean, you got to love that. You've got to love that answer. And he's right. There has been no snaps yet. We don't know if Baker's going to be the starting quarterback, although I assume he's going to be, the way he's talking about chemistry with wide receivers and the potential. We've gone down that road again. We'll probably go down that road more shows here coming up here in the future when this battle takes place between Trask and Mayfield. But you got to like that, right? I mean, you got to like the kid's moxie. You got to like the fact that it certainly seems like this team has a chip on their shoulder going into 2023, right?
Brother, and moxie was the exact word. That's the exact word that came to mind with me, because you're talking about now a veteran quarterback that's been in this league going on his sixth season and has been a few places and in this great battle you have here. But more exciting is the implementation of that Dave Canales offense and the fact that I believe that Dave Canales overnight, the Buccaneers got probably, if there's another offensive coordinator in the NFL that's big enough and can take him, then I want to see that fight because that's going to be solid. But I love the moxie, and the fact of the matter is that it is so early, and I like the fact that he points out that it's just camp. But I like those comments almost as much as I kind of like Donovan Smith's comments there about now that he's with the Kansas City Chiefs and he signs there, to be a depth piece. He says, now I understand what a championship team has to do. And I'm paraphrasing, but has to do. It's how thorough they are. And I'm like, I don't think he meant to be just outright taking a jab at the Buccaneers, but it didn't sound like he was complimenting the Buccaneers in their preparations to try to be a championship team.
No, you're exactly right. I'm just reading some comments off the air here. I want to go back out to the comments. Peter doesn't have a Patreon. We'll work on getting that. Again, YouTube Super Chats are open. Facebook Stars are open. Give to the calls if you want to, because we create some great content, but we also would like, a little bit in return, especially with somebody complaining that we don't read his comments on air. Coach Prime says, we are grateful Brady is gone. He was a toxic teammate who screamed and yelled at his one teammates. Real leaders don't do that. I mean, go ahead and respond to this, Joker.
No, the veteran leadership, I don't think anyone will ever, and I think that more is like a tongue-in-cheek, or maybe he's just taking a jab, trying to troll a bit. But the leadership that Jason Light was putting the talent together with this first overall pick in team history being Mike Evans, and all the way through, had some misses. We get that, but he had a team already prepared to have that veteran leadership come in. And the fact that Tom came in and provided a team, he strapped this team around his waist and pulled them so far further that I still think now here, and without Tom Brady here, this defense and this team is stacked because of the talent we have, that we're still going to be competing. And I think we get our third consecutive NFC South division title, but it's early, so we'll see.
I mean, it goes back to what Baker said, right? I mean, this team won the division last year. They still have the talent. I think it's just a lazy take for people to say, well, they're going to be one of the bottom three teams. And, that's exactly what CBS Sports line thought. They said the Bucs placement on here isn't an indictment of the long-term health of this organization so much as a snapshot of where Tampa Bay stands right now. The Bucs won a Super Bowl in 2020 after the bold acquisition of Tom Brady, not to mention the rest of the roster being built up nicely by GM Jason Light, you don't say, and made the playoffs in the last 2 years, even with the coaching change of Bruce Arians to Todd Bowles. But with Brady retiring this offseason, the bill came due for Tampa Bay's immediate and possible long-term future. Baker Mayfield is in town on a one-year deal, and the warmth of Bowles' seat isn't being talked about enough. Arians won the Super Bowl. A disastrous season for a longtime defensive coordinator could certainly result in Tampa Bay changing head coaches next offseason or before. There's still a lot to like about the roster, particularly on the defensive side, and you won't hear anyone complaining about Tampa's pass catchers either, but the offense wasn't the same without Arians, and now without Brady pulling the trigger, it's impossible to be worried about how 2023 plays out for this team. Is that a fair assessment?
No, it almost feels like they're mailing it in. It almost,
right.
To me, honestly, the way you hear, Peter King says 31st in rankings, and then at CBS Sports, it literally thinks they do an algorithm. Okay, minus the greatest quarterback of all time, the new offensive coordinator in here implementing, but they don't seem to put enough emphasis or point totals for having Todd Bowles and having a lockdown, I think, top 5, top 10 defense across the league, who won 55 the way they shut down the greatest show on turf in 2020, and that being the Kansas City Chiefs. And it wasn't turf, Arrowhead's not turf. But my point is that it almost feels like they mail it in. Any team, Tom Brady could have left any team, and you're like, oh, they're reeling. I don't know. Again, it's an improving South, and anything can happen. That's why they play the games. But I think that's just a lazy mail it in kind of an assessment.
I do too, and I think that's kind of been the emphasis for me. We're on with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to more comments here. We need to trade Chris Godwin since his injury is his best days will be in a wheelchair.
This guy sucks.
I don't know what he's talking about, because the guy had 100 receptions last year, over 1,000 receiving yards. So once again, Troy, I know that you're trolling, but this is what he had to say the other day. I think I'm very close to it. I feel like a lot of my explosion is coming back. I feel very comfortable with the things that I'm working on. It feels really good to be able to have the opportunity to work on my skill development this offseason, as opposed to just working to rehab an injury. I feel like we're in store, knock on wood, because I think he can stay healthy. If he stays healthy, we're in store for Chris Godwin before he had that injury. Remember, he was only like 3 or 4 catches away from 100 receptions. I mean, he's electric when he's healthy. And Tampa Bay Ray, you know this all too well. It usually takes about 2 years to overcome a major injury, especially when it comes to a knee.
100%. And thanks, Troy, for, being the guy, the troll that he is, because he's just basically served us up the topic to talk about. Because, yeah, the 2 years, at least 18 to 20 months, and then now it's 20, 2 years. Chris Godwin, being able to come back and play the way he plays. And the truth of the matter is, and you put also Russell Gage, and you got Mike Evans, and and Rachaad White now, and man, that cat, if you've seen the phase 1 and phase 2 pictures just now getting ready to go into OTAs, that guy is packed and stacked. Keyshawn Vaughn, the improvements we made. But yeah, I mean, as far as Chris Godwin, his best days, because that's the reason why he is a Buccaneer. Bucs take him out of Penn State in the second round, is because he is a weightlifter. He's a pusher. He always wants to be fine-tuning and tweaking. He's not happy with his craft. Even perfection's not happy. He wants to go above and beyond it. And I think we will see that in 2023.
All right, I got to read this comment because he's an idiot. Coach Prime says, hello, Ray, brother. We hope you find a home and get off the streets, brother. We're all battle with addiction.
This guy sucks.
God, that's the reason why I don't read your comments. Okay, Troy, Coach Prime, or whoever the hell you are today. I mean, you got multiple personalities, multiple profiles here on YouTube. I warned you, says Roger. I guess Troy's going into timeout. Real Bucs fans know Brady won the Super Bowl with the team that Jameis built. Care to?
No, but you know what? Can I transition a question? Because
yes, go ahead.
Scott Bradford from Bucs Life today had a really cool post because they were talking about, talking about the Bucs numbers that are retired, and of course the ones that are kind of soft retired. A Johnny Lynch and a Rondé Barber going into the Hall of Fame now, and it was 76 days on Friday, which I was trying to. Bucs come in the league 76. Rondé was actually one year old. Him and Tiki Barber, him and his brother Tiki, when the Buccaneers played their first game in 76. But Brady's number 12 being retired, I think the Ring of Honor was without a doubt. And I think in a new stadium, or even if they're in Raymond James 20 years from now, your kids' grandkids or kids can look up and they can tell the story of Tom Brady, although I'm sure it'll be covered very well. I don't think you retire number 12. I'm sorry, unless the entire NFL retire number 12, and I don't see that happening, but that would be because they're Terry Bradshaw.
Why not retire number 12 if you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? And, it's Tom Brady. He's the greatest of all time. I mean, it's a great story, and I feel like it's a slap in the face because I just saw this poll that they had out with top teams in the 2000s. They had the 2002 Tampa Bay Buccaneers on there, but they didn't have the 2020 Bucs on there. Why not? Because I'll tell you right now, I'll make the case they should be absolutely on there. In fact, as much as this pains me to say this, I think it's a better story in 2020 simply because you have the greatest of all time in Tom Brady. You have a pandemic going on. You're learning a new offense. You lose to the Saints twice. You're 7-5 after losing to the Chiefs. Everybody has ruled you out. The defense isn't playing up to snuff until you get to the postseason. You don't necessarily have to have the best offense in the postseason because your defense destroys the quarterbacks in Mahomes, Rodgers, and Breeze. So why aren't they ranked more? Why isn't that team given more respect than, the whole lazy argument of, well, they had, Mike Evans and Chris Godwin and Antonio Brown and Gronk and Brady. They also had a defense that was stifling in that postseason.
And as much as the 95 draft, of course, 2 Hall of Fames and Rich McKay, and as much of it in Tony Dungy, that team they built, and they just needed a little bit extra offense. Yeah, I like that you make that comparison because you put it up against the 2022 Bucs or 2020 Bucs during a pandemic. The narrative, Tom Brady, a team put together. The perfect circumstances. Literally everything came together, even down to Mayor Castor throwing Tom out of the park there in Tampa when he was just out there trying to run sprints.
And I remember us reporting on that when we were with Bucs Report, and we couldn't believe it. Like, this stuff was going on. And I any other given year, if Tom Brady signs with the Bucs, it's a bigger story. It was a big story, but it could have been so much bigger. And I remember when it breaks, it took me about 5 minutes to get on. I mean, honestly, and the biggest thing I was worried about is, are we on? Can you hear me? Because this was the biggest story during that time. And we all needed that as a sports fan because sports was being canceled all over the place. And we didn't know. We did these shows, and I remember we going, 4 or 5 days a week, not knowing if there was going to even be a football season. The draft was later that year. You had all kinds of cancellations. Yes. So you just didn't know. And then on top of that, with the cherry on top of the cake, you play in the first Super Bowl in your home stadium, and you can't get more. Come on, man. Come on.
I'll tell you what, though, Pete. The entire world needed that story. Even Patriots fans, they were like, Tom, he left there and the cupboard was bare and, Belichick doesn't know what he's doing. Coming out of that pandemic, and I'm not trying to do some self-serving 3 years beyond, hindsight's 2020 retrospective. I'm saying that the entire world needed that story. And Tom comes here and they're at Berkeley Prep in the helicopter and WTV or Channel 8, WFLA, and it wasn't just, and you know what, us Bucs fans, and I call us fans because even though we try to remain neutral as we cover them, we didn't mind sharing it with the world, just like the Patriots fans. Thankfully, Patriots fans didn't mind sharing Tom with us for a couple of years. And I think that the Patriots are going to retire number 12. That's a given beyond anything. And I'm not saying that if the Bucs were to think about retiring 12, it's a slap in the face of Patriots fan. I'm just saying that the Patriots are going to retire their number 12, and short of the entire NFL recognizing, which I still think that you haven't made the case, but I still think Joe Montana I think Joe Montana is closer to Tom Brady than LeBron James is to Michael Jordan. How's that for an analogy?
I agree. No, I completely agree with that. And I think, when it comes down to clutch and Super Bowls and stuff like that, you can make the case that, yes, he is the greatest of all time. Is Joe Montana close to him? Yes, a lot closer than LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Again, Kobe more close to Jordan.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, just saying. I'm a basketball fan. I've watched it, and the era to me, it's amazing what James has done. He deserves the credit. He's 38 years old. He gets a lot of criticism, deservedly so, because of trying to put together super teams and control the narrative and all this other stuff. But it's Jordan, it's Kobe, it's LeBron in that sentence, and then everybody else for me follows. And but it's amazing he's still playing at 38 years old.
And the pressure of the kid, he's a high schooler coming. Sports Illustrated at 15, they basically anointed him as the next coming, which makes me wonder about Wembanyama. I've seen some of his video, and the cat 7'2" and can literally do everything, and can play point guard. So
it's the same thing with Grant Hill. It's the same thing with music.
Hill.
Like you want the next Michael Jackson, right? He's the king of pop. Talented. We got Usher. Usher does some of the same things that Michael Jackson does, but he isn't Michael Jackson. He's not. He's a great artist. He's just not Michael Jackson. I know we're talking about it.
How did we get here?
We just got here, so let's go back to the comments here. You guys are lost in the sauce of Brady. Brady couldn't complete a pass to a wide open Mike Evans. We had a bad year last year. So you forget about the previous two. You forget about the fact that you had a new offense. You forget that Donovan Smith and his play regressed. And again, Brady's play regressed. We've talked about it. So, but, and people saying, and I'll go out to Roger here, Brady doesn't belong in the Ring of Honor. He wasn't here long enough. He did enough to be in the Ring of Honor for a player that's been here 10 years. He's done more than a player that's been here 10 years with this team, winning a Super Bowl in the year that he did. I mean, is that ridiculous? I mean, are they going to put him? Do you think it happens this year? Did they take Hardy Nickerson? We talk about James Wilder. A lot of people out there would like him to go in. Simeon Rice is a possibility. I mean, some of these names out there. But do you think Tom Brady goes in this year because you take advantage of the moment? He just retired. The Patriots are doing something for him. He's got a minority stake in the Raiders, which we'll get back to in a moment. I'll get your thoughts on that. But do you think the Bucs do it this year where they put him in the Ring of Honor? They basically strike while the iron is hot.
Yeah, I basically think not only could that be a possibility, but I think that purposely, because of the classy organization of your Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the classiness and the relationship between Jason Light, Bruce Arians, and Tom Brady, I believe that the Buccaneers would purposely tell Tom, hey, look, if you are getting in the studio next year, your time might be a little more limited, and we're not going to grandstand. We're going to, you belong in, you're Patriots. You're a Patriots legend. You're a Buccaneer legend, but you're a Patriots legend. We'll even do we won't grandstand you, but let's do it this year and get her done. And if Tom agreed to that, I could see it would work.
All right, let's go out to the phone lines here, leading it off tonight. Let's go out to Fat Mike of 1252 Chicago Sports. Welcome to the Evolution, my friend. You're on with yours truly, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. What do you have to say, my friend?
How we doing, boys? How we doing?
Doing good, buddy. It's all about family, right? Did you see? Oh, I got to ask you. You, Ray. Did you see Fast and the Furious 10, where once again Dominic Toretto turns into a superhero that can survive anything? Did you watch that?
10 of them fucking things already?
he's already cursing, so there you go. Yes, it's all about family, my friend. Yes.
And there's 10 of them movies already?
Yeah, the 10 just came out last week.
They need to sink that franchise like the Titanic.
They got two more coming out, Mike, and they got I don't know if I should I can't give it away until you watch it, but they got somebody that is coming back to the franchise. I'll just say that.
Paul Walker. They put him on puppet strings.
You're an idiot. You're an idiot. This guy sucks. No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not Paul Walker. Shut up.
Shut up.
Although they did the CG animation, God, bless his heart, he passed in the circumstances. But to actually finish that, what was it? Fast and the Furious, was it 6 or 7?
I think it was 6.
I'll tell you what, Mike, tell me the Buccaneers played the Bears week 2. They're going to be down here at Tampa Stadium. Please tell me that Fat Mike's considering being down here. And if so, where are we going to get together and party this place out?
I would love to. Let's start a GoFundMe for Fat Mike to come on down to Tampa.
Let's make it
Let's do
happen. We definitely need to do that because I would love to meet you. You've always been good to me.
Fat Mike and friends down in Tampa. I'll wear all my Bears garb.
Fat Mike
We'll have a
and
good time.
friends. That sounds like a damn radio show
That's a
here
show, baby.
on
Yes.
PHP Studio Network. That's our new venture today. Talking about. I don't know if you saw that or not, but we're doing that. We're putting other shows on. We're doing it. We're giving people the opportunity to have their own streaming show, live or recorded podcast, anything you can think of. The sky is the limit, my friend.
And I love it. I absolutely love it. And congratulations. I definitely love the expansion. And you guys are awesome. You guys are family to me. I love you guys. You guys are great.
Well, we love you too, man. You're family to us. And, Fat Mike and friends, we're the friends of Fat Mike here. So we'll definitely try to figure out how we can get you down here from Chicago and watch. Hopefully your Bears lose to the Bucs. But look, that's gonna be a tough game.
It's gonna go ham all over.
I'm telling you right now. I mean, I got to ask you, Fat Mike, as you're on the sports web here with yours truly, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. I mean, you got to be excited, right, Fat Mike? I mean, what's the aura around Chicago right now with all the spending and free agency? The drafting of the offensive tackle there and Darnell Wright. You got Justin Fields, DJ Moore. I mean, there's got to be a lot of excitement there in the north side of Chicago, right?
Well, just not just the north side, but all around Chicago. The Bears are the Chicago team. It doesn't matter if you're a Sox fan. It doesn't matter if you're a Cub fan or a Blackhawks fan or a Bulls fan. Everybody here in Chicago is a Bears fan.
Okay.
Everybody. Doesn't matter who you root for during baseball season. When push comes to shove, we're all wearing navy and orange. That's what it boils down to here in Chicago.
Love it.
Honestly, it's Ryan Poles. Every move that this man has made has been exactly what's needed to be done for the last decade plus.
Yep.
I heard, Mike,
well, I love the fact here, Fat Mike, that he came out the other day and said, "Look, I loved Justin Fields. We loved him ever since he came out." And he had these comments the other day where he assured, and a lot of people were not Ryan Poles, but I believe the coach, Matt Eberflus, was Eberflus. Excuse me, Eberflus.
Yeah.
Eberflus.
Bless you.
Yes,
Bless you.
Exactly. He was talking about Justin Fields and how he liked him, and it was assumed by a lot of the media that they didn't like Justin Fields, that they were going another direction. And I kept on telling everybody.
Yeah, and it's still murky water. I'm not going to lie. In my opinion, okay, it's in my opinion. This is me, Fat Mike. Drunk 90% of the time, being a moron, right? But in my opinion, it's still murky water for Justin Fields up here in Chicago.
Right.
It truly is. Now, yes, we know that we have the star-studded kid coming out of Ohio State, improved last year in his sophomore year. Now it's time to really put up or shut up.
Right.
And the Bears did again with Ryan Poles again. They did exactly what they needed to do. They set themselves up for next year with the trade that they made this year to where if Justin Fields is not the guy, they have a backup plan to fall within the top 10 to grab a quarterback again for next year. So it's like Ryan Poles did everything in his power to right the ship of the Chicago Bears. And it's only everything I've been saying for the last 5 years finally put into fruition. It's finally about time. You have a football guy making football decisions.
Hey, Mike, can I ask you a question, though?
Go ahead, Ray.
I'm sorry. I wanted to ask you, Mike, because I wanted any Bears fans out there, any fan of football that respects it. I was on Pardon My Take. Of course, that's on Barstool Sports with Big Cat and PFT, but they had Eberflus and they had Poles on there. And I got done listening and go back, and that's why I mentioned it, because you can search this. Go onto the site, look for the site. They listed Eberflus and Poles. And, man, I got done listening to that show. And even with the success in the Bucs and simpatico-ness with, Jason or Bruce Arians and Jason Light and the Glaziers, these two guys, more so than anyone else, you want to sit and have a beer. But, man, you're just excited because these two are thinking on the same channel. And it's crazy. And I think it's going to be fantastic.
It's been a long time since the Bears decision makers and the Bears coaches have been on the same page.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I mean, let's okay, guys. Ray, Pete, let's rewind. And I know that you guys are Tampa Bay. I know we're talking Chicago right now just because of me.
That's all right.
All good.
I
All right.
appreciate that. Thank you, guys. I really do.
Absolutely.
Okay. But let's rewind 35 years ago. More than 35 years ago. Let's rewind 38 years ago when the Bears won the Super Bowl in 85-86.
Yeah.
That defense is arguably, in my opinion, it's the best defense that ever touched the field.
I think a lot of people would agree with you. Not only the personalities, but the talent itself. Yes.
Right, but it's arguably one of the best defenses that ever touched the field. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying it is the best defense. The Ravens were great. The Bucs that year were great. Let's in hindsight, 2020. Let's say arguably the best defense that ever touched the field. Right.
Mm. Yeah.
I'm not the only one who thinks that Bears regime, that Bears team with Peyton, with Jim McMahon.
Yes.
Three Galt, Richard Dent,
Mike Singletary,
Michael, Refrigerator Perry,
right,
Matt Suey, and
Dan Hampton. Yes.
Dan Hampton.
Dan Hampton, Otis Wilson.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on and on and on.
Buddy Ryan as the
Mike
defensive
Singletary.
coordinator. Mike Ditka
Buddy
as
Ryan,
the coach.
defensive coordinator. Exactly.
Right.
Now let's get real here. They should have won more than one.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they probably should have, but what happened was it's so tough to do that in the National Football League these days. That's why it's so tremendous. The 49ers in that decade were unbelievable. The Giants, they definitely would, claim the Redskins at the time were also, pretty good. And
when they picked up Wilbur Marshall, yes.
Right. It's tough in free agency, but it's tough to, come back from winning that Super Bowl. We saw it with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And even with bringing all the players back, it's still a different year at the end of the day. That's why it's so tremendous.
Of course.
Right. What the Patriots
100%.
did in this era with how many Super Bowls they won with Tom Brady.
Looking back on that regime of Ditka and the Bears in 85 and on to 91, 92,
yeah,
they should have won at least 2, 3.
Right.
In 86, 87, they were right there again and got beat up. In 88, 89, they got beat up.
Yeah.
And ever since that Super Bowl run in 85, 86, they've been a dog shit team.
Well, to be fair, you had Cutler there. You got to the Super Bowl with Rex Grossman versus the Colts and Devin Hester.
And Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you're pretty.
You throwing fucking football.
Grasping straws here.
Hey, don't blame me. That's Lovie Smith there. Rex is our quarterback. That's your guy right there. That's Harry's guy right there.
Hey, Mike.
Oh my Lord.
Yes.
Was that Bears? I'm sorry, I cut you guys off, but was that Bears?
Cut us off. You're good.
Was that Bears defense so intimidating that they were maybe intimidating towards their own offense? I mean, literally, like, was there? I don't mean in a bad way.
Yes, without a doubt. You had the personalities on the offense of Jim McMahon and the personalities of Walter Payton, of course. But think about all the personalities you had on just with your front seven.
Yeah.
I didn't even bring up any of the back half secondary. In 85, you had Wilbur Marshall, Otis Wilson, Mike Singletary, Mongo McMichael, William Refrigerator Perry, Richard Dent, Otis Wilson. The list, that front seven would maul you alive.
Yes.
That front seven would not be allowed in today's NFL.
Well, they were running a totally different defense that nobody ever seen before. 4-6 defense.
The 4-6. Every single one of them players in today's football would be suspended at least 2 games.
That's true.
They went out to kill you.
Mike Singletary alone.
Their main goal, Ray, Pete, that defense main goal was to go out there and absolutely destroy your quarterback.
Yep, you're exactly right, and it's definitely changed. And most likely that defense wouldn't be successful to this day because of all the rule changes. And most likely the Ravens defense wouldn't be successful, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneer defense and the Steel Curtain wouldn't be successful with all the rule changes.
Personal foul targeting number 47.
Full-blown clotheslining people.
Yes. I remember Jack Tatum seeing those videos on NFL films. Jack Tatum would just light you up of the
Jack
Raiders.
Lambert eat you alive.
Yes.
Mean Joe Green. he would go helmet to chin on
Well,
guys.
the Youngbloods, Jim Youngblood and John, and of course what they
Yeah,
did.
who played with a broken leg in the
Yes.
1979 NFC Championship game.
Well,
by
don't
beating the
forget,
Bucs.
they busted Doug Williams' jaw. I mean,
Yeah.
he had to have his jaw wired shut. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
God, what a different time that was. A scary thing. But
it's amazing how much the game has changed ever since I've been a kid watching it, turning into. I mean, let's go back. I know that you guys are a few years older than I am, not too much older.
Not too much.
All
no.
right, but not too much. But like when I was a
Thanks,
kid,
Mike.
it was. I'm being serious because I remember I used to sit and watch NFL film.
Yes.
Playing hooky from school.
Yes, you used to watch it
I'd
on
watch
Saturday
I'd
afternoons or
watch
Saturday
the Four
mornings.
Falls of Buffalo. You
Right,
know what I mean?
right. You
And I
used to
remember,
watch
like,
the
I was
hits.
there.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
but like
Different.
the game has changed so much since I've been a kid, where it was run the ball, play defense. Name one team in the NFL that plays a steady defense right now.
I thought Philly was pretty good with the over
Okay.
80 sacks, including the postseason. But guess what? They got no sacks against Kansas City. Did they play consistent enough? I mean, they knocked the quarterback out and Brock Purdy. Are they a consistent defense that will knock your teeth out? No, I don't see a great defense out there that we're talking about at the end of the day. I mean, you have to go back, Legion of Boom. I mean, that's a defense. The Denver Broncos
That was
Miller.
a good defense. Yes.
Right. Von Miller with
Legion
that
of Boom
defense.
was a good defense.
Right. Von Miller and the Denver Broncos with DeMarcus Ware basically carrying
Yep.
them to the win over the Carolina Panthers with Peyton Manning, 9 touchdowns and 16 interceptions. That's how great that defense was, not only that game, but that year. Good stuff, Fat Mike. Let me ask you really quick before we get you out of here. You look at that Chicago Bears schedule. How many wins do you realistically see on there for them this year?
I think they doubled their I think they doubled their wins from last year.
So it's
10 wins.
Six.
Wait,
See, I
that's right.
think they got more, and I got to tell you right now, I mean, the Lions are probably going to be your biggest competition. I still am up in the air with the Vikings and Kirk Cousins. I don't think he can get it done.
I'll tell you what, Pete. That first game of the year for those Detroit Lions versus the Kansas City Chiefs, they get that first opener game, and that's going to be how Detroit plays in that game, I believe, against KC. If they show up like people think they can, then the NFC North is going to be even closer. If Detroit gets smacked back down, and I like what you said with the Vikings, I think that other than Justin Jefferson, the Bears are going to play solid. I think, and the Packers, of course, Jordan Love's a guy, but he's not going to be ready to go like I think this Bears team will. So, I mean, maybe I would go as far as to say possibly 8 wins, maybe 9 if they get a few breaks.
I would see 8 to 10 wins for the Chicago Bears. I'm very high on them. I love Justin Fields. I think he could have that progression like a Jalen Hurts where you go from, having single-digit touchdowns to having double-digit touchdowns with also less interceptions. You finally have him in offense. He's going to be in his second year. He's going to be more comfortable. You're going to have more weapons around him with adding DJ Moore.
Oof.
And also at the end of the day, Mike, I think a lot of Chicago Bear fans are happy with this. There's no more freaking Aaron Rodgers in that division owning you.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely happy about that. But really quick, I wanted to bring this up too. Okay, like back. I know that you guys are trying to get rid of me.
No,
We're
not at
talking
all.
football here. We're talking football here, right?
Yeah. We're talking about ball. Absolutely.
Last year, the number 1 rated defense was the San Francisco 49ers, right?
Correct.
All right, followed by the Bills, followed by the Ravens, the Jets, the Bengals, Cowboys, Commanders, Eagles, Saints, and Steelers round out your top 10.
Correct.
Nice.
Okay? San Fran, listen to this. San Fran was giving up 17 points a game.
Oof.
If you average it out.
Yeah.
17
Is
points
that
a
a
game.
stellar defense?
That's not the 85 Bears.
It's definitely not the 85 Bears. It's definitely not the Ravens. It's definitely not the Bucs. But the NFL has changed. It's a passing league now. It favors quarterbacks, and we continue to talk about this. How the NFL wants to see more offense. I got to ask you, a guy like Devin Hester, who I've gotten a chance to interview, and you've seen this Tampa Bay Ray. I mean, what do you think he would think of the new rule change now with the fair catch, the 25-yard? I mean, you might as well just take away the kickoff altogether, right, Fat Mike?
Yes.
I mean, it's just
Yeah.
stupid.
Yes.
It's just stupid. It takes away the aspect of the game, and I get it. You want to be, safe. You want to protect all these players from concussions. But at the end of the day, it's football. And you take that aspect of that game away, I think you're going to be missing out. Good stuff, Fat Mike. Anything else here on the evolution?
Yes, really quick. I wanted to give you the numbers of the 1985 Bears defense.
Please.
Points per game.
Oh, wait to hear it. Oh, God.
Yes.
12.3 points per game.
Wow. 5 points of difference, and that's 12 points a game. You're scoring 12 points a game, and you're expecting to win.
I think they had
now.
They
Now,
might have had 5 shutouts.
Yeah.
When push came to shove, they shut out 2 playoff teams.
Yeah.
Sir.
Yes, you're right.
Shut out. How many shutouts did they have that
Shut
season?
them out.
How many shutouts in total? How many shutouts in total for that 85 season? Was it 4, 5?
Let me see here.
I know, putting you on a spot, but because I know they literally went like a 5-week span where I think they had 3 or 4 games where they shut people out.
I feel like we gotta have some music here.
They killed everybody.
God, man,
It
that
wasn't
was
even fair. That Bears team, I mean, that defense was absolutely gross. They had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 shutouts that year.
There you go.
it's sexy time.
We got his music on right there, so we had to get that on. All right, good stuff, that Mike. Appreciate the time here on the evolution of Sports Talk Television. Take care, and we'll see you soon. All right, my friend?
Miss you guys, and I'm glad that the Lightning are out of the playoffs.
Hey, you know what?
Blackhawks.
Let me tell you something. Chicago, they got a number 1 overall pick.
I'm telling you what.
Let's see what they can do with it, all right?
And also, really quick, I want to say a shout out. Pete, I know that you know him. Ray, I know that you know him. Dave Mills is a good friend.
Yeah, Dave Wills. Yeah.
Good buddy.
Yep.
Dave Wills, great guy. I'm gonna miss him. I love him.
Yes.
Voice of the Tampa Bay Rays down there for a long time.
Mm.
Great guy. And shout out to his family and my condolences to his family, and he will be missed. I love Dave.
He'll definitely be missed, and we talked about him, and I know that there's a lot of sadness there in Chicago with Fred and you and being close to him, and we're trying to get him on the sports web, and I wish I got him on the sports web, but he was the voice, and you felt like you did know him when he was on radio, because that's who you listen to if you're a Tampa Bay Rays fan. At the end of the day,
he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys. I mean, he's been the guy down there forever in the Rays.
Yep.
And it's the Pat Hughes ever since I've been growing up. This guy you invite into your living room.
Yep.
You invite the barbecue on 4th of July. You invite. You listen to him all the time, and it's a goddamn shame.
Yep.
It
is.
Hey, make no mistake, fellas. He has a part in what's going on with these 2023 Rays, and I'm not saying how the season finishes, but how it started. I've told this story a few times. I'm listening at UPS because I have to listen to iHeart, and I'm listening to WDAE on iHeart, and there were at least 3 of the first 7 games where, of course, Andy Fried and Neil Solondz are doing a fill-in, and of course they lock in, they sign every game off with and forever. Still Dave, but there were many times, there were like at least 4 or 5 home runs where Neil Solondz was calling pop fly, deep pop fly. It just keeps going and it keeps going and it's gone. I mean, he literally, surprised. And I really felt like, that Dave was carrying that ball a little bit, and I'm not sure how this season ends, but he definitely had a part in that beginning.
Well, I tell you right now, the way this team has started off at the beginning of the season, I think the sky is the limit. And is there some divine intervention here going on with Dave Wills being on the other side? I wouldn't rule it out. I would definitely not rule it out at the end of I would rule anything out. Maybe this is the year the Tampa Bay Rays finally win a World Series. Fat Mike, thanks a lot for your time here on the Evolution, my friend.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon.
All right, talk soon. There we go. Fat Mike from 1252 Chicago Sports. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. In case you can't get in on that number, the other number, use it. You love it. 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Mr. Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Let's go back out to these comments. National media is picking the Saints to win the South, especially Tampa Bay. Trey Don't sleep on us. Agree. Roger says Mike Glennon better than Brady.
This guy sucks.
Speaking of Mike Glennon, Pete,
Yes, and I gotta ask you this because Greg Schiano came out with comments the other night saying in so many words, I was not prepared to take the job. Even I didn't want the job. I wanted to stay at Rutgers. I basically cried my eyes out when Rutgers got into the Big Ten when I was an NFL coach. That, to me, makes him the worst coach in Buccaneer history. Not just because of that, not just because of the body of work, but just all the drama that followed, the toes on the line, getting rid of LeGarrette Blount, and, of course, Aqib Talib, just Josh Freeman and Mike Glennon. I mean, give me your thoughts on Greg Schiano. What do you remember from that? Because I kind of, went through that the other night. People were like, why are you going through this again? This is a dead horse. And I felt like this is an emotional thing for me that I have to go through because I have to prove that first, I was right about him. It was a disgrace when they hired him. I didn't understand the hire at the time. You give me your thoughts.
Well, I mean, the hire was because he was Bill Belichick's back pocket guy, right? He had that toughness, and we saw him bringing that toughness at Rutgers. But and along the same lines as that statement he makes this week, and one of the reasons why I think it alludes back to his being one of the worst coaches is because his teams had no heart. The defense was tough. They were like toes on the line. They were, technique wise, but they didn't have that heart. And I think that because they didn't have that heart, if they'd had heart with the technique they were learning, maybe even it works out differently. But, the reason why the Bucs went after him again, because he's a friend of Bill Belichick's. Oh, well, Dirk Potter actually helped Jameis, he's training him. I mean, there's reasons why they make these decisions. It's like they're just trying to get lightning to strike. But teams had no heart. They had good players that had hearts on it, but his team's overall performance together just didn't have that team heart.
I just been told he just wasn't ready for the NFL, and he even admitted it. And that's why I feel like he was the worst. And people go, well, look at the record of Lehman Bennett and Ray. I mean, you were with Lehman Bennett, but you at least didn't have the drama. You had some terrible years there, and I get it. He's probably the worst coach statistically in their history. I mean, where do you lie on this? Is Greg Schiano? Do I make a good point here that Schiano should be considered the worst coach in Buccaneer history with all the drama and all the things he just said the other night?
Yeah, because I want to say the toughness. I agreed with what you said, and one of the coaches that came to mind, and his teams actually, so ironically enough, had a lot of heart, but they had no technique, would be Richard Williamson, who was the wide receivers coach, but he had been at Alabama with Ray Perkins, and when Ray Perkins gets fired, him and his forward days, he steps right in there, and his team, those teams were terrible. But I think the reason why we might classify Greg Schiano's teams as the worst coach is because the cupboard wasn't bare with that Buccaneers team with his time here. There were some skilled players on his team as opposed to back then when it was just
Vincent Jackson. Yeah, I mean, you listen. They went into free agency thinking, and they did that year because you had Raheem Morse. He had the 10 win. Then you go into the strike. You don't spend money. You don't go into free agency. They go into the tank. And then in 2012, they go after Vincent Jackson, and they go after some big-time players there. It doesn't necessarily work out, but you're right. You had Jackson at the time. They got rid of Blount. I mean, they had the talent.
I'm going to put you on the spot, though, because I watched your take, and I was watching the show actually live that night, and you couldn't remember Bennett's name.
Michael Bennett.
Bennett. And he wasn't. He goes to Seattle.
And it made me mad because – and again, I'll put this out there. Steve White, God bless his soul, rest in peace, because I was able to do, a draft show with him, and he was on radio with, I believe, Sean King at the time. And he would tell me over and over again, the Bucs have a pass rusher. His name is Michael Bennett. They just have to give the opportunity to him, and they never gave him the opportunity. And in the limited opportunities they did give to him, he showed flashes of brilliance. But they let him go. Mark Dominic let him go. Greg Schiano let him go because of a shoulder injury, and he proceeded to go to Seattle and go to Chicago and other teams and just kill it. And the Bucs were still looking for an edge rusher at the end of the day, which they didn't find since, I don't know, Shaq Barrett.
Wait, Noah Spence didn't fill that void?
No, Noah Spence definitely didn't fill the void.
Shut up!
Neither did Vinny Curry. Anybody else that you can trot along there, you can out there, genius. All right, we're on with Tampa Bay Ray. I'm your host, Peter Blake. giving you something to think about here. So the Mike Glennon better. This is what you get for that.
This guy sucks.
Better shut up about Mike Glennon because he stole plenty of money from the Chicago Bears, and I know Fat Mike would agree on that.
Also, speaking of Mike Glennon, I just again down here at Coachman Park at the Sound, the new open venue. No, but they're going to have the 30th. Speaking of Mike Glennon, they're going to have the 30th. They're going to do a filming of the 30th anniversary of Napoleon Dynamite. So,
oh well, there you go. So, but I heard not all the guys are going to be there. You know, what's his name? Chip is not going to be there. Is that who it's not? It's not going to be there. I heard that even the main actor is not going to be there. That's what I heard.
Well, Mike Glennon, you mean? But I'm.
Yes, Mike Lennon.
Yes.
Mike,
if
he's too busy stealing people's money right now as a backup. I mean, that's a perfect job in the National Football League. I mean, you're just holding a clipboard, and in case the quarterback gets hurt, maybe you start. But more than likely, you're just holding the clipboard at the end of the day because an offense.
So you're saying that Baker Mayfield has the perfect job?
I'm saying Baker Mayfield right now is going to be your starting quarterback.
You and I are going to go to battle.
We're going to revisit this conversation eventually. Let's go out to David here. I'm sorry, but it's just like the argument with Michael and LeBron. There's no way in hell LeBron could ever played in the 80s, been a superstar, just like no way in hell Brady could have played in the 80s. He would have been a superstar even if he had an earpiece and being told the defensive plays. I disagree with you because I think Tom Brady was definitely a hell of a quarterback in his prime. He could have played in the 80s. Would he have been as successful? I don't know. Bill Belichick has always been successful. Remember now, David, he was a defensive coordinator of the New York Giants. A big reason why that Giants defense was able to stifle the high-powered offenses of the Denver Broncos and John Elway. And, of course, the Buffalo Bills. So
his relationship with Lawrence Taylor and Wilbur Marshall and what he was doing with that Giants defense is just with Lawrence Taylor. But Tom Brady, ironically
hold that thought. Let's go out to the phone lines here. Let's go ahead and acknowledge this.
Acknowledge me.
Let's go out to the tribal troll, Mr. Roger Shue from Holiday, Florida. Welcome to the Evolution. You're on with yours truly, along with Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy, best of the Bay. What do you got to say, my friend?
Tampa Bay Ray and Spider. Good evening, gentlemen. Great show.
My friend. Thanks very much.
Good evening.
I appreciate you.
So, two things real quick. The 85 Bears defense was the greatest of all time, just like Michael Jordan.
Okay, fair enough.
Just like Barry Bonds, the home run king.
No, okay, now stop. You should have just stopped right here. 2 out of 3 ain't bad there, Meatloaf, okay?
This guy sucks.
Stop with the Barry Bonds crap. Everybody knows that Hank Aaron is probably the greatest of all time, along with Babe Ruth. Stop it. They didn't cheat.
Troy is the Barry Bonds of trolls.
Yeah, well, I agree with that. He's definitely steroided and hyped up on something.
So, my prediction, Bears win 10 games this year and win the NFC North.
All right, 10 games in NFC North. All right, well, I'll call you crazy. We called you a lot of things in here. I've called you
Ray,
an idiot.
what do you think? Am I crazy?
No, like I said, I believe I said that if they go 9 and then go 10 if they get a couple of breaks. But we can say that about every team in the league. Not every team, but we can say that about your teams that are improving and have the strength and the depth and are doing what Chicago's doing. And I'm making the same argument with these Buccaneers. But at least the Bears are, their stock is rising as opposed to where the Bucs, Tom Brady retires, so they went to 31st in the league. Forget about the fact that we got so much depth on defense and all. But I like watching Justin Fields. I like this Bears team. I like the way they're put together. So, I won't be rooting for him week 2, but I'll be rooting for him.
I think he's going to have a what's his name in for the Eagles. I can't think of his name. The quarterback. I'm having a break.
Jalen Hurts.
Jalen Hurts. I think he's going to have a Jalen Hurts type season.
Oof, man.
Well, I mean, and I think that's the comparison that you're looking at the end of the day, and that's what you hope for, and that's the reason why you have to be so excited about Fields and his development last year.
Plus because DJ Moore, my God.
Exactly. You finally got him a weapon. Oh, by the way, Jalen Hurts got a weapon. What was his name? A.J. Brown. They made a trade for DJ Moore. They're trying to duplicate and emulate what a lot of teams have done around the National Football League. Look at the Buffalo Bills and the young quarterback there in Josh Allen. He didn't really do much of anything until you get him a big-time weapon in a Stephon Diggs. You look at Kirk Cousins. He gets, Justin Jefferson. That helps him out.
Can I ask you guys a question, though? Both
Sure,
of you,
go for it.
Roger and Pete.
Yeah.
So, the news today, of course, just some simple workouts and, Aaron, tweaked a hammy. He's got a little tightness in his muscle. Do you guys, I'm not going to try to say, does Aaron Rodgers have Tom Brady's success? I'm not saying he doesn't have the talent to do it. And I'm not saying that Jets team's not actually good enough, but it's not 2020 during COVID. And the AFC East is going to be a little tighter, I think, than that. But do you guys see him leading the Jets to possibly at least win the division, to win the AFC East, or do you think it's just they're spending $60 million there and it's not going to anything turn out anything like it did here in Tampa Bay?
I think it's a tough division to win because, again, you still have the Buffalo Bills there with Josh Allen. You still have the Miami Dolphins. We know if Tua can stay healthy, you still have those weapons there. And you have the New England Patriots, who I think, hopefully they finally have an offensive coordinator for that kid, Mac Jones. They got their own problems. I think it's a tough buy, but I will say I understand where they're coming from because they feel like they're one piece away, like the Bucs were with Brady. So do they have enough weapons? Do they have a good enough defense? We know they have the defense. Breece Hall, can he stay healthy? Can they get enough from the running game? I could see where they could win this division, as crazy as it sounds, but this could be a tough one. This is a tough division where all these teams are going to beat the shit out of each other. Excuse my language.
Even Aaron Rodgers in his 4-day darkness retreat drinking his Oaxaca tea is not going to help him win the division.
Well, see, I still say he's a great quarterback in the league. He has lost a little bit, but if you run the ball and you play defense, and I think this is where the Jets are looking at it at the end of the day, we don't need you to win all our games. You can make all the throws. You can win some games besides, if it's a championship game, of course, or the playoffs. But, we can surround a running game. If we can give you a defense, maybe we can win the division. I understand where they're coming from. They're definitely going to be a competitor in that division. Will they win it? I think it's up in the air. So it's a great question, and I think it's one of those storylines that you have to watch in 2023.
Let me ask you guys, what about Devontae Adams and the statement he had this week about basically that he was bringing Aaron Rodgers along, or what was it again? He said, all pro or something. And he's basically, and I'm not putting him down. The guy's a talented cat, but I mean, a wide receiver, you could be the greatest wide receiver of all time, but you got to have someone on the other end pitching that biscuit.
Well, you do, and
Exactly.
you look at the Devontae Adams situation. That could be going off the rails already. I mean, and lo and behold, Josh McDaniels is a part of that. You got Jimmy Garoppolo who can't stay healthy. I mean, and now Tom Brady is taking over as the
who's the backup quarterback there now too? That's one. I'm sorry, Brian. Blaine Gabbert.
Is it Blaine Gabbert? I thought Blaine Gabbert's in Kansas City.
No, Blaine Gabbert's and my son Tristan told me. I didn't even know this, but he's in Vegas.
I think you're right, and I think Ruth is right about that too.
Yeah, Ruth is right here. Yeah, but I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if that they trip up there or in Vegas that Garoppolo. I'm not saying injured, but maybe
not able to stay healthy. Hasn't been able to stay healthy a full year. So eventually, you're going to see Blaine Gabbert as the quarterback, and that may lead them to collapse for Caleb Williams, who, by the way, is in their backyard there at USC. Yeah. Roger, what else?
I will give Aaron Rodgers this. He throws the most beautiful 10-yard deep ball you've ever seen.
Shut up, Roger. There's so many years you've been beaten by Aaron Rodgers. I know how excited you are, but come on now. Give the man some credit.
No.
Never.
Screw him, screw Green Bay and their fans.
All right.
Why? Green Bay
sucks. All right. I'll give it to you.
I'll keep watching, and I'll talk to you guys soon.
All right, man.
Take care, Roger.
Give you the Macho Man right there. Open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. It's the Sports Web. I'm your host, Peter Blake, along with Best of the Bay, Tampa Bay, Ray Kennedy. Let's get back to this question from David. Do you think Brady can play in the 80s with the physicality of it? Because I see him more playing in it. Drew Brees is the guy that was kind of, wanting the rules and safety of a quarterback. Tom Brady, I think he can play.
Especially if it was in Bill Walsh's West Coast offense. I think
right.
that was literally, that would have been, and he'd get rid of the ball. So, and no offense to Joe, but Tom would get rid of the ball. He's the fastest, getting rid of the ball in the history of this league. And you put him in that Bill Walsh, that West Coast style offense with Jerry Rice and John Taylor. And that, I think that it would be, I'd pay to see it anyway.
Yeah, I definitely pay to see it, and I think, it's the best of both worlds, right? I mean, Bill Belichick has Joe Montana and that short passing offense, and he has the defense of the New York Giants. I mean, it's so funny how that works out. Thank you. Roger Shue says, R.I.P. Tina Turner.
Oh, did Tina pass? I didn't know.
Tina pass, 83 years old. What's love got to do with it? She rest in peace to her. Let's see, Chidi for Ring of Honor, Chidi Ahanatu. That's been mentioned. I'm already on Fast and the Furious 15. Where are they racing spaceships? Yeah, they already had a car come out of a spaceship. It's pretty good.
Oh, yeah. It is.
I love Fat Mike. Roger Shue says, Fat Mike, beers on me. If you come down to watch beers, beat that ass. All right. Fat Mike and friends. Christopher Cole says, I'm thinking about doing videos of me lifting weights. You should. Go do it, Christopher Cole. Absolutely.
From the PPH Studios.
Yes, a PH
Studios. Sorry.
I knew you would get it wrong. It's okay.
I do.
So we can gator hunt and catch some bass, says Coach Prime. Roger says you can't afford to do that either. Coach again. Roger's even scared of going frog hunting. Mongo says Roger Shue, let's go back out to David. And just like that, or just like what that man just said about the 85 Bears defense, how they got out to destroy the quarterback. Imagine what they would have done to a statue like Brady back there. Just saying. I mean, again, you can protect Brady. It's not like you're going to figure out a way with coaching, good coaching. But you're exactly right. Could he take him all those hits? Maybe not. I don't know. Oof. It's a good point.
He'd have gotten hit a lot more. Let's put it that way. Definitely.
Yes. I've been hunting since I was 7 years old. Coach Prime says Roger's scared of eating squirrel stew with squirrel brains.
This guy sucks.
I knew you would bring up some nonsense like that. That's why he just buys his food from Publix. Nothing wrong with buying food from Publix there, genius. He's not eating roadkill like you are there. Yeah, exactly, Ruth. Exactly.
Sorry, you can hear her. Yeah,
you can. Absolutely. Let's see here. Nope, I can cook. You don't eat brains. 85 Bears D is the best of all time. By the way, Coach Prime, I'm going to start calling you Cletus because you're eating freaking roadkill there, squirrels and everything else. Hi, Ruth. I don't think we'll see another great defense like we did growing up because receivers were scared to go across the middle. When I was growing up now, there's so many crossing routes and quick slants, you can hardly see that play back in the day. You agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, it's going across the middle. I mean, they still did it, but John Lynch and even as late as Vontaze Burfict, I mean, going across the middle was a completely different deal back then. And you're going to see the NFL continue to make those protections, which is like, when I hear of something like I watched McGregor Forever on Netflix talking about the MMA, and I hear about the fact that Dana White also owns the slap league where they literally stand and slap each other. They've got a minute to come back from being concussed and then slap their opponent back. And I'm like, now that at the end of the day is probably the most Neanderthalic sport I've ever heard of. And no, I would not watch it even just to see what it was about.
All right, good stuff there. Play the funk, says Roger Shue. Roger again, call in more Fat Mike, Christopher Cole. They should go to a version of the XFL kickoff. I think they're kind of trying to take some of those rules and use them to their advantage, and they always kind of do that. That's what the NFL does. I say go back to the rules of 1970 when I was born. Okay, Coach Prime says Roger doesn't know how to shoot ducks 300 feet in the air.
Oh, yeah.
I'll give you that. KR says Shiano was one of the worst coaches, shaking my head. Daniel Williams, Mr. Williams there says, hell yes. Great stuff there, Mr. Williams. Appreciate you. You can call in if you like. Greg Schiano had no chance, even if he wanted to be a coach in the NFL. The previous coach used to go out to bars until 3 o'clock in the morning with the players before the game. How the hell can you go from a party to coach that says toes on the line without being a lot of friction? I get it, but the way he did it, the way he wasn't able to relate to players, and we've heard the Raheem Morris stuff, you still have talent on that team, and I feel like you shouldn't have got rid of a lot of that talent for what you got rid of. I mean, what did they trade LeGarrette Blount for? Like a box of balls or something? It was like a 7th-round pick, and he becomes like an all-pro overnight for the New England Patriots and various teams. So, David, I understand the point, but the way you go about it, and then you have Mercer going around, I mean, it's completely unorganized. I mean, there's so many things that were wrong with it. And it goes back to the Bucs getting turned down by Chip Kelly and going with Schiano. And I never.
But don't repeat. I'm so glad that you read the other day on social when I made that, when I talked about the fact that I go back, I can tell you exactly where I was, what I was doing. I was at a baby shower, and we were watching that game against the Seattle Seahawks that year. I'm sorry, I can't reference the year. And like you said, the Bucs had a 27-point lead, or, they were up and then they lost 28-27. And that was right there because because Seattle was the hottest team in the NFL, at least the NFC at the time. And we went to their place against the 12th man there in Seattle. And that team, the way their spirit and their backs were broken in that game, we already kind of knew that Greg Schiano could not relate to his players. And again, his team just had no heart. After that game, it was downhill from there. You pretty much knew this was a broken team under him as a head coach.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. And, for me, the whole thing of staying competitive with the New York Giants and then rushing them and trying to go for the legs is just ridiculous at the end of the day. By the way, no turnbuckle talk tonight. No Mark Mancini, no Ralph, no JC. We'll hold off on that until next week. Pig Dog says, hey, Peter, the bloom off the Jason Adam rose. Is he Lance Carter 2.0? He scares me every time he's on the mound. Didn't look good tonight. Wasn't able to get out of it. Of course, Kevin Cash took him out. Thank God he did. He brings in Kelly, gets the double play in a high leverage situation. I mean, what do you think about Jason Adam? I mean, he performed very well, but it seems like lately, giving up that home run to Pete Alonso, and he just has not been the same type of player.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as we can talk about him, I'll talk about Kelly. The fact that this time last year, this guy was a double-A ball. And then tonight, he's locking down a game, having that success, again, with the best team in baseball, and the confidence he brings. And, we just talk about it time and time again, This Rays team just seems to. It's a small. They build themselves, or I'm sure the coaches and Neander tells the players, it's us against the world. We have the lowest salary, but we're gonna have the best arms. Some people say, well, we have a lot of injuries with the pitch, and we do. And the bullpen's a little shaky, almost as shaky as the Blue Jays bullpen seems at points. But the fact of the matter is, I think that maybe the reason why the Rays pitchers have a lot of injuries because they get these kids to reach down a little deeper. They seem to tug into the heart a little more. You get this, with heart and hustle back in the day was a joke because that time those Rays weren't heart and hustle as much as, but I mean, at the same time, you're getting these young kids, these guys to buy into it. And the success Kelly has tonight coming from Double-A a year ago, and now he's up in the bigs and he gets that big double play tonight. That's just even more exciting. Put that in the back pocket while the rest of the team continues to do what they're doing.
Agree, absolutely. I mean, do you think the Achilles heel of this team could be their bullpen? CBS Sportsline reports 295, 15th in Major League Baseball. And once again, going back to this statistic, which I read off to Leo, 17.4% of batters faced this season. They have struck out 17.4, but the league average is 23.8. So could this become a problem where we're watching this game and these games are brought to you by Tums because you have so much heartburn because the Rays could be blowing it at any. I mean, we talked about this the other night. And I get it. The Blue Jays are in last place. They're going to continue to fight. They got enough talent, but you don't want this to happen. You don't want this to become a problem where it costs you the division. And right now, you're going to have to win every close game. You're not going to be able to blow out every team every night.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. At this point, because of a couple of slips-ups in the wrap on the bullpen, even a 2 or 3 run lead, you're going into the 7th or 8th, and you're like, maybe a year ago or 2 years ago, you're like, they'll lock it down. I still think that you got Tyler Glasnow coming back. You got Sugar Shane. They're gonna not ask too much of their pitchers. They're going to do more analytics, but I think that you'll see these, and Zach Eflin, you'll see these pitchers going a little bit deeper. I still think Tosh Bradley, even though he got so lit up last night, the talent is there. But you know what? It's always been the last couple of years, the Rays will look for a bat at the deadline. Maybe the Rays are going to look more for an arm, someone to come in and into the bullpen and complement their starters as we get later into the mid or, July, August, September. And maybe that's what you're going to do. You bring someone on board and it's just going to add to this rotation that we already have here, remain healthy with that rotation. And I think that, that's what they'll probably maybe want to do. And I think it'll be work.
I think it could be the year where they make a trade, hopefully at the deadline, if you need an extra arm, whether it's in the bullpen, whether it's in that rotation or an extra bat. But you talked about the other night, Jose Siri, man. I mean, I got to tell you, right, I'm glad they got rid of Kevin Kiermaier. I know he's a fan favorite. I know defensively he's second to none. He showed that the other night with throwing out Wander Franco. But this kid, Siri, seems like, and once again, the Rays find somebody off the scrap heap who, the Astros give up, right? I mean, they don't know anything about him. And now this year, 8 home runs. Defensively, he's still pretty good, pretty fast, getting some big hits, got a big hit tonight. I mean, talk about him a little bit.
I've been to 5 or 6 games this season, and we always sit out there in center field. And he's played 4 of the 5. What this team is, I made the comparison that Kevin Cash is still, and I made the Blake Snell reference earlier. We talk about analytics, and this team, the Rays live and die by the analytics. But I think the difference this year is they've got so many individual characters, starting with Randy Arozarena, and then you got just Siri, and they're wearing the extra colors, and they're wearing the just the things they're being allowed to do. There's a couple of times where they haven't had as much. One thing I was afraid of is there'd be more defensive, a young defense not having that timing. But man, with Wander Franco up the middle, what Paredes is doing at third, and Yandy, I mean, going into this season, it was like, oh, we don't have, we don't have our first baseman anymore. What are we gonna do here? Turns out Yandy Diaz is a hell of a first baseman and a leader from over at first place on a team of leaders.
Yeah, and he's just getting the barrel, on the ball at the end of the day, because we knew he always had power, but he's displaying it. And Luke Raley, how about him? I mean, not only making T-shirts to make fun of those jokers and clowns in New York, but he's backing it up on the field. 10 home runs, including 1 tonight. So, right there, those 18 home runs, and they lead Major League Baseball. Once again, the Rays go on to beat the Toronto Blue Jays 7-3 tonight for their 36th win, 36-15. We're on with Tampa Bay Ray. I'm your host, Peter Blake, giving you something to think about. Let's go out to David here. So to answer your question, Pig Dog, I'm not ready for that Bloom to go off the rose, but if he continues to pitch the way he does in those high leverage situations, they're going to have to explore other possibilities, especially down below or outside of the organization, like we talked about making a trade. David says, yeah, but wasn't Bill Belichick busted in the 80s for cheating? Was he? I don't remember he was busted for cheating.
Yeah, in the 80s. I mean, not under Bill Belichick, and then he's with Cleveland for a cup of coffee, but,
Yeah, I mean, for Bill Parcells, I don't remember that.
If you're not cheating, you're not trying.
Well, whatever there, Barry Bonds. Roger Shue says, I love eating squirrels. So good. Who cares? I mean, who says that?
How about no?
You eat squirrel. You guys eat squirrel? I mean, really, my dog wants to hunt squirrel. Every time he sees a squirrel, he tries to pull my arm off. I bet Ruth is the same way.
Is that what the kids are calling it these days? Squirrel.
Sabu debut tonight on Dynamite. How old is that guy? What is he, 60 now?
Ooh, yeah.
Goodness gracious. We need Culverhouse back. You need to shut the hell up.
Shut up!
All right, let's go back out to football here. Again, open phone line, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The other number, 727-409-7528. Again, 727-409-7528. Let's go back out to Baker Mayfield. He says the greatest part about this system is that it puts people in positions to keep the defense off guard. Those guys will line up in the slot. Our tight ends will go out wide, and we do certain things to get that tells the defense all of our skill players are smart enough to be able to handle that and do it at a high level. What do you make of those comments from Baker?
Dave Canales came in and said, we're going to run the same basic plays. We're just going to execute them perfectly, and then we're going to use misdirection out of the same basic sets. And I think that's exactly what Baker Mayfield's saying. But I think the good thing for Buccaneers fans is that, again, that veteran leadership. And I forget who it was that posted today, a play that Baker had on a play action. Oh, I'm getting ready, brother. I'm sorry, my battery's running low, so I don't want to. But he ran a play action pass, and Baker just looks like he's also doubling down and dedicating himself to doing, as opposed to always being more of he's off script. He's going to make a play with that, the rubber band arm he's got. Now I think that he'll rub off on Kyle. Kyle will rub off on him. They're learning a new offense on a defensive minded team. And I think that it's going to be a great thing that he's going to be able to learn those. And I think that's exactly what this Dave Canales offense is going to do.
All right, good stuff. Tampa Bay Ray Kennedy Cup of Ray. We don't know when it's on. I guess it's Tuesday,
You know,
Saturdays. You just have to continue to tune in here on the Evolution of Sports Talk Television. Thanks a lot for your time, my friend. All right.
brother, always a pleasure. I can't wait till we start cutting and start doing our podcasts. And I can't wait. I'm excited that we have so much talent here in Tampa Bay. And not just it hasn't be sports, but you and I know a lot of guys that are pretty darn knowledgeable and great communicators with sports. So we might start doing collabs. We're going to start having some fun. And at the end of the day, we're just going to have some great content. So, brother, thanks for having me. And always a pleasure.
Absolutely, brother. Get home safe, and we'll see you soon. All right.
All right, take care, brother.
All right, good stuff there. Tampa Bay Ray, best of the Bay. Let's continue to go out to stories around the league. Adrian Peterson says he isn't retired yet. In fact, he says mentally, I haven't officially hung it up. We'll see what happens. Of course, he tells Clarence Hill of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram, my mindset is if God's willing, maybe an opportunity presents itself and maybe it happens this season, I'll go from there. But if nothing happens this season, for sure, I will be hanging it up. If Peterson doesn't play another game as expected, he will finish the NFL's fifth all-time leading rusher with 14,918 yards. He would also become eligible for the Pro Football Hall of Fame in class of 2027. Most likely first ballot. Amazing, with Antonio Brown, Richard Sherman, and Rob Gronkowski as the other candidates. So what do you think about that? Adrian Peterson, are there teams out there kicking the tires on him going out to the Bucs in day 2 of the first set of OTAs? Missing were Chase Edmonds, who's dealing with an injury, Sean Tucker, defensive back Duron Lowe, tight end Dominique Daphne, and also the players not also there. Well, excuse me. Okay. The players that were at the OTAs but were not practicing due to injury were Chase Edmonds, Sean Tucker, Duron Lowe, and Dominique Daphne, tied in. And then the players not at the OTAs due to injury, Aaron Stinney, and, of course, Russell Gage. So we'll see how that transpires. A lot of Bucs fans right now grumbling because Gage got hurt last year, and it became a lingering thing. So hopefully it doesn't become a thing this year, because you would like to have him in the fold along with Mike Evans and, of course, Chris Godwin recovering from the injury. Todd Bowles says about beneficial pre-snap movement, which we've talked about on this show many times. It's not every play, but we have it in the arsenal probably a little more than last year. We could build things off of it. I think it helps the defense because they get to see it, and helps the offense because they get some things too. It'll help on both sides of the ball. So once again, the offense definitely not like Byron Leftwich's last year. Let's go back out to the comments here. Roger Shue, I'll bring you some next time I go hunting this fall. I'll pass.
How about new?
Let's go on to Christopher Cole. There's a lot of misinformation in the Freeman versus Schiano. Schiano tried so hard to fix Freeman per Scott Reynolds of Pewter Report. So we'll see. I kind of feel like he didn't like him. It wasn't a great relationship. Of course, that always goes back to coaches and drafting their own players. He didn't draft Josh Freeman. Freeman wasn't his quarterback. I just hear different things. And I hear that, in so many words, the guy's a radioactive idiot. Just off air. Let's see. Cade Otton has this to say on getting bigger, faster, and stronger during this offseason. Yeah, definitely all those things last offseason with the combine, having to rehab from an injury. It's just been great to have a full offseason to work with the strength staff, to work on my nutrition, just really focus on building myself from the ground up as a football player. Getting ready physically for a long season. I haven't played a season like I had last year, so just knowing what it takes to go deep into the regular season with a good record, and then our goal is to win a Super Bowl every year, so that's what we're gearing up to do individually. I'm just trying to work on what I can do to be the best player I can be. That's Cade Otton right there, who definitely showed flashes of brilliance later on. Seemed like he was getting more and more comfortable. Of course, you hit that rookie wall. So a lot of expectations with him. And, of course, Mr. Cameron Payne from Purdue. Let's go out to Patrick Mahomes, and then we will wrap it up here because I think he definitely has some great comments here. And it goes back to what Rob Gronkowski had to say about Joe Burrow the other night, with not necessarily being the highest paid quarterback, because it gives your team some flexibility. Mahomes says he isn't driven by money. No. If he needs to be, he was asked if he needs to be the NFL highest paid quarterback. It's more of, I just want to do whatever to not hurt other quarterbacks whenever their contracts come up. You want to kind of keep the bar pushing. It's not about being the highest paid guy. It's not about making a ton of money. I made enough money where I'll be set for my life. At the same time, you got to find that line where you're making a good amount of money, but you're still keeping a lot of great players around so you can win these Super Bowls and you're able to compete in those games. Much like what we talked about, the Brady blueprint, although at the time when that contract was signed, we told you that there would be, some ramifications, and there was with Tyreek Hill moving along there. So there you go right there. Stories around the league, and, of course, with your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Let's go out to Roger Shue. Got to go. Good night, everyone. On that note, let's go ahead and get out of here. A solid 2-hour show. Thanks a lot to the legend himself, Mr. Leo Haggerty, former Coach Scout and now media member of Night Sports Productions, Amped Up Sports, and, of course, Best of the Bay. Again, the big-time announcement for the night. If you want to get in on this, you should definitely. PHP Studio Network, bring your broadcast to life. Get on my phone line if you're interested in it, 727-255-0391. It's 727-255-0391. The rates are there at phpstudionetwork.tv. Whether you want to have a live show, a recorded podcast, whatever you want to have, trust me, we can definitely make it happen, which PHP Studio Network. KR says, awesome news. It sounds awesome. It is awesome, Kevin. We'll definitely get you taken care of with the lunch. Like and subscribe to the Sports Web on YouTube, and like and subscribe to I Love St. Pete, the Hub, and Amped Up Sports. And do 3 things for me on this happy day edition of the Sports Web. Bring your passion, bring your excitement. Just don't bring any nonsense. I'm your host, Peter Blake, your Rolex reporter. What time is it? It's my time. And for the Tampa Bay sports fan and fan of the Sports Web, it's your time. Have a great night.